Hello everyone, this is Dr. R. Tulasiram, Associate Professor, Department of Social Sciences, Faculty of Agricultural Sciences, Bharat Institute of Higher Education and Research, Chennai. So today the topic for our discussion is natural resource economics and its properties. So this is one of the important lectures that is being included in the course Farm Management, Production and Resource Economics. And it is one of the important course that is coming under agricultural economics for the students of second year. So in this course, it is being divided into three different segments. One is farm management, production economics, and another one is resource economics. And this particular title is coming under the broad category called resource economics. And it is one of the important and of course basic courses that is coming under, titles that is coming under natural resource economics and its properties, right? So in this class, we'll be dealing with what is natural economics, what is resource economics, what are the differences between natural economics and also agricultural economics, and what are the different properties of the natural resource economics. Let us move on to the slides. Let me introduce something about the natural resource economics. Of course, it is having two sections. One is natural resources that is available every year in our country. Combinedly, it is called as an environment. You have trees, you have land resources, water resources, you have plants, shrubs, forest areas, etc. And on the other side, you have economics. There is basic concepts of economics. How these resources which are actually available in scarce in our country is being employed to get production. Normally, economics, when you take that alone as a concept, it is nothing but how you employ the limited resources to get an output. Okay, so scarcity is one of the important words that is being connected to agricultural economics. Okay, so scarcity is nothing but we are talking about the inputs, or otherwise it is the resources which is available in our hands to do a production process. Okay, so these resources, inputs or factors of production is available in scarce. So it is all about how we are going to employ these scarce resources to get maximum out of it. Okay, so when you apply these economics concepts in natural resources, okay, but that is in agricultural economics, you have all the factors of production in the name of land, building, other capitals, machineries, seeds, laborers, electricity, etc. Whereas in natural resource economics, all the inputs are will be from natural resources like water, right, wind energy, thermal energy, solar energy, coal, etc. Right? Okay. So what is natural resource? No, it is a specific attribute of the environment that was valued to humans. No, it is an attribute that is taken out from environment and which will be useful for the human beings. And this is the definition given by Mr. G. Johnston. And it is according to Haidt and Mulkey, it is the aspect of nature that can be used by humans to satisfy their wants. Because as you know that human wants are unlimited, it is repetitive, it is complementary and competitive in nature. Okay, because when one want gets completed, they will look for another one. So it is unlimited, it is limitless. Okay, so to satisfy such wants, these human have to use these natural resources which is not available in, of course it is available in plenty, but we need to use it in such a way that it gives you maximum benefits. On the other side, if you take economics, it is a study of production, processing, distribution, and consumption of goods and services in an exchange system, that is buying and selling. So how you do production, how you process the foods, how you distribute the goods, and how you consume the goods and services produced in an economic system. Okay, so this is all about natural resource economics. So when you combine together both these things, it is the application of economics and its concepts to manage naturally occurring resources for human needs and wants with efficiency as the primary goal. That is, we are going to apply this concept of economics in natural resource. That is, from natural resource, we are going to take lots of factors or inputs that is required to produce a product. Okay, so on the one hand, you have resources, natural resources, that is inputs or factors. On the other hand, you have economic principles. Now we are going to apply these economic principles to use these natural resources. That is okay, that is easy. But the important part here is we need to apply these resources in an efficient way. So what is efficiency mentioned here? No, you need to make use of these resources very less and less. No, you need to use only limited inputs to get maximum profit. That is efficiency. So if you take any student, if he does any work within a very quick period of time, then he is called as efficient student. Okay. If some machine is doing a work very faster than the laborer, human laborer, then the machine is said to be more efficient because it is using less time. In the same way, when we use very less natural resources as inputs for production, then you can call that production process as an efficient one. So what are the natural resources that is available that we can make use as inputs for any production process is that includes land, forest materials, minerals, water, energy, that is solar energy, thermal energy, wind energy, electricity, etc. And also the whole biodiversity. So these are some of the available natural resources that we can make use of to understand the subject called natural resource economics. So next we will deal with what are the importances of natural resource economics, right? Because it is very important that global warming, that is one of the important scenarios that we face nowadays, and that is ozone depletion also, that is acid deposition, and because of this we receive acid rain sometimes, and there is a need for the conservation of biological diversity because all the natural resources that are readily available now, it is getting depleted, it is getting depreciated. No, the value is getting reduced, the number of forest area, the number of available resources that are also getting shrunken. So we need to make use of these resources efficient way, in such a way that we get maximum benefit out of each and every unit of naturally available resources. So now we will see about the classification of natural resources. Right. Normally this natural resources is being divided into two broad categories. One is production resources and another one is non-production resources. Production resources nothing but it is used for a production process. And non-production resources, of course, it is available there. We will make use of it, but we don't use it for any production process. So the productive resources, it is being divided into two types again. One is renewable resources, another one is non-renewable resources. So renewable resources, you have three different types: flow resources, fund resources, and biological resources. And under non-renewable resources, you have recyclable resources, non-recyclable resources. So under non-productive resources, you have life support system, absorptive and protective systems, aesthetic and recreational systems. Sometimes we make use of these natural resources only for recreational activities. Say, for example, you have parks, okay, you have beach and all. No, it is only for recreation. We are not going to produce anything out of those natural resources, but we use it for just recreation, just for time pass. So that is also a natural resource which is found to be non-productive in nature. So first we'll see about, we'll be dealing with these resources one by one. The first one is production resources, that is productive resources. So any natural resources provide economics with raw materials that are turned into goods, namely process of production. Okay, through the process of production, these raw materials are getting converted into a finished goods. Okay, and environment provides direct service to the consumers sometimes. So example, you have fuel, you have fishery, you have forest, and also you have water. Okay, so the next category is non-production resources, that is non-productive resources. These are the resources which do not have a direct relationship with the production of goods and services. Okay, indirectly it helps. Say, for example, if you take butterfly or if you take any birds or something, what it does, it just goes to a particular plant, particular crop, where it takes the pollen from those crops and it goes to another field where it just drops all the pollens. And it takes pollen from one crop and it just drops that in another crop. It helps in pollination. When there is pollination in a crop, that helps in a good yield. Okay, so in such a way, it is indirectly influencing. No, there will be some larva. No, there will be some larva in one tree. There will be it may eat another insect which is available in another tree. That may be a pest for that particular crop. In such a way, it acts as a predator that just prey towards an insect which is found to be harmful for agriculture production. So next one is renewable resources. As the name itself tells them, it is renewable. That is the resources, natural resources that can be replenished in short period of time. No, you can make it ready again and again. No, you can get it ready again and again. It can be reused again and again. That is solar, water, biomass, wind, because wind is something that you can generate all the time. So you can keep on using those resources. It is getting renewed all the time. So these are some of the examples for renewable resources. The next one is non-renewable resources. So non-renewable resources are natural resources that can be remade or regrown at a scale comparable to its consumption. That is, we need some quantity of such resources for consumption, and we can produce, we can regrow, we can remade the same quantity of these resources. Okay, when compared to the consumption, the same quantity can also be produced. Example, nuclear energy, coal, petroleum. No, based on the consumption, based on the demand for these natural resources, the same quantity can be remade or regrown. Okay, but if it is a renewable resource, you can do that. But if it is a non-renewable resource, once it is used, it is almost used. You cannot get it back. Say, for example, petrol. If you use 1 liter of petrol, it is already used. You cannot renew it again. You have to produce it again. But whereas renewable resources, you can see here, the solar, once you have used it, again you can take solar energy. Again, you can take wind energy. It can be reused, regrown. But whereas non-renewable, you cannot do such things. Once it is used forever. It cannot be remade or regrown again. Right. So under renewable resources, there are 3 types of resources. The first one is flow resource. The name itself indicates that during the process of production, okay, these resources will be used. These inputs or factors will be used during the process. That is why it is called as flow resources. And it is otherwise called as non-restorable, non-storable. That is, you cannot store it. So during the production process itself, you have to make use of these resources. It is indivisible. It is inexhaustible in human span of time. And time and management is relevant only to consumption, not the supply. So examples for these flow resources: sunshine, weather, ecosystem, ocean waves, etc. So these are some of the examples for flow resources. And you have storable flow resources, right? Sometimes you can store some of the resources. Say, for example, water is one of these flow resources. You can harvest water. You can conserve water by using water harvesting structures, right? So wave energy is there. You can store the wave energy, hydropower, hydrogen energy, etc. Sometimes you can store the flow resources. The next one is fund resources. It is regenerative within human use time frame, and it assumes use within minimum and maximum thresholds. Okay, that is fund resources. And these are some of the examples for fund resources: timbers, crop, fish, forest and some unique ecosystems, soil and water quality, animals, which includes both human and non-human, and grazing land. So these are some of the examples for fund resources. Next one is the biological resources. It refers to the living landscape, the plants, animal, and other aspects of nature, and are important to production process. So now we will see about non-renewable resources. It is the second part of the renewable resource, the productive resources. Recyclable resources. Under non-renewable resources, the first type is called recyclable resources. The name itself tells that it is recyclable. That is, it is one that can be used over and over, but must first go through a process to prepare it for reuse, right? So that is, this particular resource can be reused in the future, but for this facility of reusing the resources, it has to go through a particular process in which it will get prepared for a reuse. Examples for these recyclable resources: glass, aluminum. So glass, once it is used, you can throw it away. So these thrown glasses can be collected and pulled together, and it can be kept as a heap in a godown. And these can be again grinded, and it can be made into fine particles, and again, in turn, this will turn into a glass again. So aluminum is also same. So there is no limit to the number of times these products can be recycled. Just look into the benefit of these recyclable resources. Just think of it. Its value is humongous. No, you can keep on using these recyclable resources many times, time over and over again. Okay, that is recyclable resources. The next one is non-recyclable resources. These are those resources which cannot be used after it has been used once. Once it is done, it is always done. Soil, Once you utilize the soil, no, you can use it, but it is not the same soil that were used the previous time. Okay, and the next one is coal. Once it is used once, no, you cannot use it again. You need to use some other coal. So mineral oil, natural gases that we use in our household consumptions. So these are some of the examples for non-recyclable resources. So now we'll see about the quantitative expressions of these natural resources. The first one is flow resource. Okay, the nature of flow resource, it is nothing but Ft is equal to RT plus ST plus WT. So Ft, capital Ft denotes flow resource obtained within T time. The T denotes time. The RT is the consumed amount of flow resources, how much is being consumed, and ST is how much remaining that is being stored, okay, out of the total flow resources. And W2 denotes the wasted amount of these flow resources. The next one is the nature of biological resources. It is the ST is equal to S0 minus summation of RT minus HT, where this ST is the current biological mass that we need to find out, and S0 is the biological mass at the beginning or before using such resources, and harvested biomass during T time, it is HT, and RT is the net new addition of biomass during Tth time. The next one is the economic evaluation methods of natural resources. How we can evaluate these natural resources? What are the different methods? The main conceptual principle of economic evaluation methods of natural resources are natural resources as an asset, how it behaves, and economic approaches of these natural resources, and standard criteria for decision making with respect to these natural resources. We will see one by one. The first one is the natural resource as an asset. In economics, environment is considered as a complex asset that provides different services, right? Because in environment, if you take anything, any resource, it provides different services. You can use it for multiple purposes. And it is, of course, considered as a very special asset that ensures not only our existence, but also development of economics. Okay, that means by using these natural resources, we can survive this life, and also it gives some economics to us. No, it gives some production value, gives value to these resources if we possess. The resources are, as I already told you, it is limited, but our wishes are unlimited. So why there is a need of recycling? Why there is a need of renewable energy? Why we need to use one resource, natural resource, again and again? Why? Because these natural resources, like the economic factors that is being used for producing a good, which is found to be very, very limited in our environment. So we need to use such limited, scarce resources in such a way that we are going for an efficient production process. Okay, so the resources are limited. We need to use it in such a way that it yields maximum satisfaction even with a small unit of input. So therefore, there is a tendency that the speed of extraction and use of natural resources is growing to the maximum, but the resources are limited. And the complexity of environmental economics is determined by meeting these contradictory conditions and restrictions that I told you. The contradictory condition is the wants are unlimited with respect to human beings, and the natural resources that is available is found to be scarce. On the other side, we have restrictions that we do have only limited resources to attain all the benefits out of environment. So hence it is essential to compare all cost and outcome, but also evaluate efficiency of use of natural resources. So after applying these natural resources, we need to estimate the cost incurred for these inputs. Okay, how much natural resource is being used. We can give some proxy value for these natural resources to be used for production process. Okay, so based on this cost, we need to compare this cost with the benefit that we get out of the natural resources. Say for example, there is a soil, there is a natural gas, there is a mineral, there is coal available, which you can call it as input. You can give a proxy cost for these natural resources, and then you will get benefit out of it. You can sell this, you can sell the coal, you can make use of this coal to get electricity, and this electricity will have a value. So that is called as benefit. This benefit that is coming out of the natural resources that can be compared with this cost of inputs. And if the benefit is more, then you can say that the production process is found to be efficient. That is, we are using this scarce, limited resources, available resources in an efficient way in our production process. So this is just a circular flow of economic activity where you can see it is always a combined model. Okay, so it is all about the factor market, that is the availability of laborers, workforce. So households will give workforce to the factor market, factor in the sense input, and in return they will receive income. Okay, on the other side, the firms which want to produce any products, okay, they will require some resources. There will be a demand for resources. Okay, in return they will pay some cost. And these firms, after production, they will supply goods and services to the market for buying and selling activities, and in return they will get revenue. So firms are getting revenue, and factor markets are receiving cost. Households are receiving income for the labor work that they provide for the factors market, and these households will provide expenditure to the output market because they demand goods and services for their household consumption. So the supplied goods and services from firms to output market will be sold again from output market to the households for consumption. So that is mentioned there. That is demand for goods and services by households. In return, they will be paying the expenditure, that is cost of those goods and services. That is price paid by the consumers to the output market. So this is the circular flow model of economic activity. Again, there is a material balance model. Here, the nature is being included here. The same concept. Okay, the natural resources are drawn from the nature by the households. Okay, and what they give, do they pay any money? No, they don't pay any money, but in return, they will just give residuals from the consumption. They use something and they give it back, okay, to the nature, right? In the form of gas or whatever it is, in the form of wastages. So these wastages, again, it is a natural thing, isn't it? So if you take anything from nature, if you make it as a good, if the good is being formed as a residual from the out of consumption, it can be recycled, it can be recovered, and it can be made in such a way that it can be reused by the human population. So the residuals that is coming out from the firms, the company, that can be again utilized for recovery, recycle, and reuse. So this is famously called in environmental economics as 3 R's. Okay, in environmental science, there is a concept called 3 R's, that is recovery, recycle, and reuse. In such a way, these materials which is available in the nature, it is getting balanced, it is getting recycled. It also follows a circular flow. So none of the things are getting wasted mostly. So it is getting reused all the time because of the only reason that these natural resources are very scarce in nature. The second approach is economic approach. It provides better understanding about connection between economic system and natural assets. So the positive economics shows what is, what was, and what it will be. And normative economics answer the question what it ought to be, that is what it should be. So there is an argument between these. Economics ensures continuous development, and both approaches are important. So in positive economic approach, in order to evaluate dynamics of use of natural resources, it helps determine whether use of resources has increased, decreased, or stayed on previous level. It is just a simple statement. But in normative economics, you need to find out some deeper value, some deeper meaning out of it, right? So determine whether the speed of utilization of natural resources is acceptable or not. Okay, how much we are using. Okay, are we overusing the resources, which is found to be limited, which is found to be scarce? Are we using it in a positive way? Okay, and also to analyze possible ways of using natural resources. How we can reutilize it, how we can utilize this for some other purpose. No, it goes beyond the positive economic approach. Okay, so both the approaches are very, very important. Positive economic approach is just a simple thing. Just we will find out what is happening, what is what. But in normative economics, you just go for some deeper understanding, right? How it is being used, whether it is these resources which are natural, is it used in a paka way? Is it used in an efficient way? That will be analyzed here. And the third point, that is normative criteria for decision making. If it is essential to find out whether the proposed actions are desirable, the first step should be determination of benefits and losses. So once you have started using natural resources, you need to determine the cost that we put in for natural resources and the benefits that we are getting out of these natural resources. Either it may be coal, wind energy, solar energy, water as a natural resource. If we use it for some purpose, we need to calculate both the cost and benefit. So if we incur more money than the benefit that we get from natural resources, then it is of waste going for it. Okay, it is of waste going for it. Okay, if the benefits that we get from these natural resources is more than the cost that we incur, then it is okay. We can go for it. So this simple system is economic basis in decision making. Right. So it can be formulated as follows. If B is benefit from the use of natural resources and C denotes the cost of incurring cost that we incur in these natural resources for usage, then the benefit is greater than C, that the action is desirable. And if the benefit is less than C, the action to be rejected. And if benefit is equal to C, that is point of no losses. No losses, you can think like, no, it is of waste. Okay, it is not all about getting the benefits alone all the time. Even if there is no loss also, you can accept it, because we just put something and we get back the same thing, right? So there is no benefit, it is okay. That means it is not over-utilized. The happy thing here is we are not over-utilizing the resources. That is, the cost is equal to benefit. It is okay. And benefit greater than cost is also the action that we are going to take is desirable. The same production process can be continued for a longer period of time. Okay, that is denoted by these comparisons between B and C. So all benefits and costs are evaluated, taking into consideration their effect on development of humankind. So how it influences positively for the mankind, no, that has to be taken into consideration. So now we'll see some of the differences with natural resource economics and agricultural economics. The main focus in agricultural economics is inputs, whereas in resource economics, it is resources which is readily available. The type of cost here, it is marginal cost in agricultural economics, and in resource economics, it is transaction cost. And in agricultural economics, the relevance of market price is since markets for agricultural commodities are well defined, whereas valuation in natural resources is relevant since property rights are not defined. No, because most of the properties, no, it is not owned by anyone. Okay, it is naturally occurring thing. Whereas in agricultural economics, everything is owned by someone. There is a property rights for all the assets that they have. And market is well defined in agricultural economics. And here also it is markets well defined do not exist for natural resources due to lack of well defined property rights and lack of information. We don't have any property, well defined property and well defined informations. And here the stakeholders are farmers, consumers, and government. Here virtually everyone in the society is stakeholder. No, we have equal rights to use these kind of resources. Nobody can own any resources. Okay, so it is a natural resource. Anybody can make use of it. And policy term, it is short-term policy or relevant due to dynamic implications. Example, subsidy policy, price policy, everything is temporary, short-term. Here it is long-term policy is must for sustainable use of natural resources. Any policy which is being given for the natural resources, it will be for long-term purpose. And scarcity of agricultural commodities is not relevant. Scarcity of natural resources is relevant due to difficulty in their non-renewability in short run. In a short run, you cannot renew it very quickly. An optimality rule is MR equal to MC, that is marginal cost equal to marginal revenue. When you want to put an additional cost to produce something, the benefit, the revenue that you get from those additional costs must be at least equal to that additional cost. Okay, if you want to put extra 10 rupees, it has to give you more than 10 rupees. So it is same for everywhere, right? And there are important properties available for natural resources of relevance to agriculture. So these natural resources, it includes water, forest, fisheries, land, environment, biodiversity, and their services exhibit few properties. Okay, so that we will see one by one. So there is an uniqueness in these natural resources because the property, there is a property of zero or low cross elasticity of substitution because most of the natural resources are unique. I can tell one example, water is a unique natural resource. You cannot have any substitute. You can have substitute for the product called tea. You can go for coffee. You have substitute for the product called mango. You can go for orange. So you have all the time substitutes, but natural resources, no, it is unique. Petrol, it is petrol. You coal, it is coal. Water, it is water. You cannot take juice all the time instead of water. So it is highly found to be unique. So there is zero cross elasticity of substitution. Okay, there is no substitute commodity for these things. And another property is indispensability. Okay, you cannot avoid it. It is so necessary. And hence sustainability and equity are crucial. Equity in the sense it has to be available for all the humankind, and it is used in such a way that you leave something for the future generations. Say for example, if you take water, you need to leave water with some limited, substantial quantity for your future generations. You need to leave tree resources, you need to leave forest resources for the future generations to enjoy. You are not supposed to use all the resources which is available now without leaving anything for our future generations. So that concept is called as sustainability, because you cannot avoid these resources for the next 1,000 years. And of course, until this human's existence is possible. And the third property is irreversibility. You cannot reuse it all the time. And uncertainty, it is uncertain. And invisibility, sometimes groundwater, you cannot see it, but still you have access for it. And remoteness, some of the natural resources which is not found everywhere, it is found to be remote. It may be found in only remote area, and it is not very easy to find out these things. And next property is intricacy, and again it is found to be very complex. Okay, you can, most of the natural resources are very tough to explain. Okay, so when it is explained only, we can go for it. We can compare those natural resources with the economics concept. So since it is very complex, first we need to understand it very easily, then we can go for applications. And independence and to interdependence. And in case of natural resources, no damage or even zero damage sometimes can be considered as benefit. As I told you, if you make use of these limited natural resources, the benefit that you arrive through usage of these natural resources, that should be more than the cost. Sometimes if it is equal, that is also okay, because you are not over-utilizing any resources. You should feel proud that you are just making use of these resources in correct way. Either the benefit should be more than the cost, or the benefit should be equal to the cost, but the cost should never be greater than the benefit. And just to conclude, this effective use of natural resources promotes development of a country because it adds some value to the human beings. And ineffective use of natural resources decreases potential of sustainable development of a country. As I already told here, you need to use these things in a sustainable way, so that the future generation also has to use these natural resources, which is found to be limited. And it is ineffective use of resources can also cause considerable losses to the environment and also economics. If you keep on using these resources in an unsustainable way, that means you will run out of natural resources. In the future course of time, you cannot get any money value out of these natural resources, and you cannot make use of these natural resources to provide some supplies to the Indian government or any country's government. No, they supply coal, electricity, petroleum, gas, natural gases, etc. That will not be available after usage of all the available natural resources in an unsustainable way. So if it is ineffective use of these resources, there will be loss, huge loss in the environment. So all we need to do is we need to use whatever available resources in a sustainable way, so that we will leave some part of these natural resources for our future generations to enjoy. So that's all. In this lecture, we were talking about the natural resource economics and its properties in detail. So in the next class, we'll be dealing with some other interesting topics. Until then, it is bye from Tulasiram. Thank you.